What's up, my guy? This discussion will contain spoilers for One Piece chapter 1045, so go away if you haven't read the good. We should talk about the properties of Luffy's fruit. You getting tired of it? I'm not. I'd like to discuss the topic brought up by Kaido in chapter 1045. Kaido mentions that Luffy's devil fruit awakening behaves like that of a Paramecia, by being able to turn his surroundings into rubber, but that his transformation is that of a Zoan. This is indeed strange, but unlike Kaido, we of course understand that this is due to Luffy's devil fruit being the mythical Zoan Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. This has led many to wonder if Luffy has the properties of a Paramecia and a Zoan, will he somehow discover or unlock the properties of a Logia fruit as well? If this turns out to be true, this is something that could tie in very nicely with the extremely popular theory that Blackbeard will gain one of each of the three types of devil fruit powers, a Logia, a Paramecia, and a Zoan. Though it obviously hasn't been confirmed that Blackbeard has or will acquire a Zoan fruit, it seems very likely to happen to many people given the whole number 3 motif on his flag and whatnot. But I'm not here to discuss the specifics of that theory right now. With Blackbeard seemingly lining up as the final villain of One Piece, it would be a very Oda thing to do, wouldn't it? That if it is the case that Blackbeard also acquires a Zoan, for Luffy to also be able to access powers from all 3 types of devil fruits. The symmetry there is almost too tempting for him not to write. Of course, I'm not suggesting that Luffy will eat any additional devil fruits, but we've already seen that his literal god fruit has the property of multiple different categories of devil fruits, as have other mythical zones. When we look at other mythical Zoan abilities, all of them include Zoan transformations, and often a hybrid form, but they almost all also include special mythical abilities alongside their transformation. Yamato can conjure frost and ice, Kaido can conjure lightning, wind, and fire, Sengoku can create shockwaves, and Marco can create healing flames for himself and for others. With Luffy's awakening and transformation matching the Paramecia and Zoan categories, the only one he's missing is Logia, right? But what if I told you that Luffy has already unlocked the properties of a Logia fruit? What if he's had Logia properties for longer than any of us have realized? This might seem like a big claim, and it is. So I'd like to go over a few things with you that may or may not convince you. First, we'll talk about the properties of Logia fruits. Then, we'll discuss the properties of Paramecia. Finally, I want to go over why the rubber powers of Luffy's Nika fruit are unlike any other Paramecia we've seen. Let's go. Logia fruits grant the user the ability to conjure and control a natural element specific to the fruit. However, the trademark power of a Logia is the permanent and automatic transformation of the user's body composition into that of a natural element. We know that Luffy's mythical Zoan, the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, permanently transformed his body into the natural element of rubber. It's certainly true that rubber is not an intangible element like many Logias such as fire, lightning, smoke, or light, but this isn't necessary for a Logia element. We've seen others like Kuzan's ice powers, Sakazuki's magma powers, and Karibo's swamp powers, and we accept that all of these Logias are tangible elements. Luffy has, thus far, not shown any ability to conjure or control rubber other than that of his Paramecia-like awakening, though he has been shown to conjure fire, perhaps as a different element of the sun god. Whatever the case, it seems that the fact that Luffy's body has been permanently changed in this Logia-type way is much more unique than we previously believed. Is this really a property of a Paramecia fruit? Paramecia fruits are sort of used as a catch-all dumping ground for all fruit abilities that don't fit into Logia or Zoan. However, there are 3 generally accepted subtypes of Paramecias. These are body manipulation, substance generation, and environmental alteration. However, the one of interest in this discussion is body manipulation. There are many examples of Paramecia fruits that alter the body of their users, such as Bellamy's Bane Bane no Mi, Dazbon's Supa Supa no Mi, or Diamond Jozu's Kira Kira no Mi. These fruits allow the users to turn part of their body into springs, blades, or diamond, respectively, on command. These fruits very clearly do not permanently alter the bodies of their users. The fruit user must actively activate the body transformation, and the default state of the user is that of a normal human. Another common belief, though, is that some of these body manipulation fruits permanently alter the body of their users. I know it isn't the end-all be-all of One Piece information, but even the One Piece wiki says that this is the case, citing the Gomu Gomu no Mi as an example of such a fruit. Although this has been commonly accepted, I started wondering if that view has any merit. As I said, the only example of permanent body manipulation on the wiki is the Gomu Gomu no Mi, and we now know that this fruit shouldn't even be listed as a Paramecia at all. It's a mythical Zoan. Surprisingly, after looking through the list of the rest of the canon Paramecias, I can't find any other fruits which I would say alter the user's entire body permanently, and definitely none that change their bodies into any sort of element, natural or otherwise, permanently. You probably don't believe me, and I'm sure there's a handful of fruits that immediately came to mind. So I'd like to touch on any fruits which I considered while thinking about this, or I thought may be confusing. I'll admit a couple of them may be a little less cut and dry than others, but here we go. First off, I want to get a bunch of fruits out of the way. These are Magellan's Doku Doku no Mi, Galdino's Doru Doru no Mi, Treble's Beta Beta no Mi, Perospero's Pero Pero no Mi, and Opera's Kuri Kuri no Mi. All of these fruits are substance generation type Paramecias. This means that none of these users can turn into these elements at any point, though many of them often cover their bodies in their substance or even use their substance as appendages or replacement limbs. These are obviously immediately disqualified from the running of permanent body manipulation. Next up is Pika's Ishi Ishi no Mi. This is another fruit of a different type than what we were looking for. As with the previous fruits, although it may appear so, Pika is unable to turn into stone at all. This means there's no way that his body has permanently been turned into stone, as would be with a Logia fruit. Pika is simply able to control stone around him. This makes him an environmental alteration fruit user, which isn't what we're looking for. I'd also like to discuss Alvida's Sube Sube no Mi. This fruit is understood by many in the fanbase to permanently alter Alvida's body to make her slippery. It's technically true that we have no solid proof whether or not Alvida can control the level of slipperiness. However, if anything, we should probably believe that she can, as she's able to interact with objects such as holding her cup, her club, papers, and otherwise able to sit down in chairs and walk around, though her fruit causes attacks to slip off of her clothes as well. The Sube Sube no Mi also caused Alvida to lose weight and her freckles, but we have no reason to believe that this wasn't also an active ability, and frankly, should most likely be viewed as a gag. Another fruit that you might think of is Sugar's Hobi Hobi no Mi, since it has locked her in eternal youth. However, I would argue that this is not permanent body manipulation either. If anything, the fruit locking the user into the age that they were when they ate the fruit is the opposite of body modification. It makes it so that your body can't change. The moment Sugar ate the Hobi Hobi no Mi, her body didn't change at all. Next up is Karakuri's special Paramecia, the Mochi Mochi no Mi. The Mochi Mochi no Mi is a bit of a weird case after being retconned into the Paramecia class. The powers granted by this fruit could easily be misunderstood to be permanent. However, the seemingly automatic attack phasing has been shown to simply be Karakuri making use of his signature future sight in conjunction with his devil fruit to become Mochi to deform his body with stupid accuracy around any incoming attacks. Now we're getting down to the interesting ones, like Blamenco's Poke Poke no Mi. This fruit allows the creation of pockets of unknown capacity within your body. The only user that we know of is Blamenco, The only user that we know of is Blamenco, 6th Division Commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. Every time we've seen him, he's had these same pockets on his face, so surely that means this is a permanent body modification, right? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. When we learned the name of this devil fruit in SBS 98, Oda also mentioned that this fruit allows for the generation of infinite pockets in your body. If this is the case, you seemingly get to choose where the pockets are. Perhaps the pockets on Blamenco's face are just where he's actively keeping them. But a more reasonable explanation to me is that any pockets with contents inside don't disappear until they're emptied. Another couple of fruits worth consideration are Buggy D Clown's Bara Bara no Mi and Very Good's Beri Beri no Mi. These fruits function extremely if not exactly the same, aside from the shapes and types of attacks they're immune from. With that in mind, we've seen about 600 times more out of Buggy than Very Good, so from here on out, we'll mostly just be talking about Buggy. I do think it's pretty clear that Buggy does not need to consciously split his body to be invulnerable to cutting attacks. This was shown off well when Mihawk cut him to ribbons at Marineford, and it caused no damage whatsoever to Buggy. Aside from being split by others, Buggy certainly does have to activate his powers like any other Paramecia we've talked about for his body to be modified. His default state is that of a normal human. What do you think would happen to Buggy if he was cut while underwater or while in sea stone handcuffs? would his body still separate safely? We've seen that Luffy's body is still rubber no matter what sea stone or water he's touching. So far, the only thing that's been able to stop Luffy from stretching is Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi. So, has Buggy's body been permanently modified? To be honest, it's not clear to me. I know it's not a very satisfying answer, but it just feels different than the rubber effect given to Luffy. Furthermore, we certainly couldn't say that Buggy or Very Good's bodies have been transformed into natural elements, unless you consider splitting or grapes as a natural element. Finally, I'd like to close with Kuma's Nikyu Nikyu no Mi. You see, technically, we don't know if his paw pads are permanent or not. Every time we see Kuma use his powers, he first takes off his gloves. Does he take off the gloves before activating the paw pads, or does he take them off to uncover them? I'm sure we've all assumed that the paw pads are constantly there, but technically, we don't know for sure. So let's go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt and say that they are always there. Well, we've finally found a clear, permanent body modification. However, again, we can agree that this modification is nothing like that of a Logia power. It only affects the palms of your hands, and paw pads are certainly not a natural element. So, what do you think? Does this permanent rubber body match with the other Paramecia fruits? Or does it fit more closely with what we've seen from Logia abilities? Have I missed another permanent body modification Paramecia that you're dying to tell me about? Or is there something else I haven't thought of? Please let me know in the comment section. I'd love to talk about it. Peace.